The Secret of the 12 Dancing Princesses. Every morning, the same strange mystery appeared in the royal palace. 12 princesses went to bed in the same room every night. The doors were locked. Guards watched the halls. No one went in and no one came out. And yet, every morning their shoes were completely worn out. The soles were thin. The leather was torn. It looked exactly as if the princesses had been dancing all night long. But that was impossible, right? The doors had been locked the entire time. So where were the princesses going? The king could not understand it. His 12 daughters were kind, intelligent, and beautiful. But something strange was clearly happening every night behind that locked door. Determined to discover the truth, the king made an announcement across the entire kingdom. Anyone who could solve the mystery would receive a great reward. The man who discovered where the princesses went at night could marry whichever princess he chose and one day become king. But there was also a terrible warning. If someone tried to solve the mystery and failed after 3 nights, he would lose his life. Soon, many brave men came to the palace. Princes from distant lands, knights, and noblemen all believed they could solve the puzzle. The first was a young prince. He was given a comfortable room next to the princess's chamber. The door between the 2 rooms was left open so he could hear everything. His task seemed simple: stay awake and watch what happened during the night. But that evening, one of the princesses brought him a cup of wine before bed. The prince drank it without suspicion. Soon after, he fell into a deep sleep. When morning arrived, he woke up too late. The princesses' shoes were once again completely worn out. The same thing happened the second night. And the third, the prince had failed. As the king had promised, the punishment was carried out. After him came many others. Brave men, clever men, confident men. But every single one of them accepted the wine, fell asleep, and failed the challenge. One by one, they all met the same fate. The mystery of the dancing princesses remained unsolved. Then one day, a retired soldier arrived in the kingdom. He had been badly wounded in battle and could no longer serve in the army. With no work and no clear future ahead of him, he simply wandered from place to place. As he walked through a forest near the royal palace, he met an old woman sitting beside the road. She looked at him carefully and asked where he was going. The soldier sighed and shrugged. "I'm not really sure," he said, "but I heard about the king's challenge. Maybe I'll try to discover where the princesses dance at night." The old woman smiled slightly, as if she already knew something important. "That task is not as difficult as people think," she said. The soldier leaned closer, curious. "Tonight," she continued, "one of the princesses will bring you a cup of wine before bed. Do not drink it. Pretend to fall asleep instead." Then she gave him a strange cloak. "Wear this cloak," she said, "and you will become invisible. That way you can follow the princesses wherever they go." The soldier thanked her for the advice and decided to try his luck. Soon he arrived at the palace and told the king he was ready to take the challenge. Just like the others before him, he was welcomed into the palace and given fine clothes. That evening, he was taken to a room next to the princess's chamber. Everything happened exactly as the old woman had said. Before bedtime, the oldest princess entered his room carrying a silver cup filled with wine. The soldier thanked her politely, but when she looked away, he secretly poured the wine onto the floor. Then he lay down on the bed and closed his eyes. A few minutes later, he began to snore loudly, pretending to be fast asleep. In the other room, the princesses listened carefully. When they heard the loud snoring, they burst into laughter. "Well," said the oldest sister, "this one won't last long either." Soon the sisters began getting ready for the night. They opened their chests and drawers and took out beautiful dresses decorated with silk and jewels. One by one, they dressed themselves in front of their mirrors, laughing and talking excitedly. But the youngest princess felt uneasy. "I don't know why," she said quietly, "but I have a strange feeling tonight." Her older sister waved the idea away. "You worry too much," she said. "So many princes have tried and failed. This soldier is sleeping like a rock." Finally, the oldest princess walked over to her bed and clapped her hands. Suddenly, something incredible happened. The bed slowly sank into the floor. Beneath it, a hidden trapdoor appeared. A secret staircase led downward into darkness. One by one, the princesses began walking down the stairs. As soon as they disappeared, the soldier quickly jumped out of bed. He put on the magic cloak and instantly became invisible. Then he quietly followed them down the secret staircase. Halfway down the stairs, he accidentally stepped on the dress of the youngest princess. She gasped in surprise. "Someone pulled my gown," she cried, but the oldest sister shook her head impatiently. "Don't be silly," she said. "It's probably just a nail in the wall," and the princesses continued downward. At the bottom of the staircase, the soldier saw something magical. They had entered a beautiful underground forest. The trees shimmered with bright silver leaves that sparkled in the darkness. Wanting proof of what he had seen, the soldier quietly broke off a small silver branch. The branch snapped loudly. The youngest princess jumped again. "Did you hear that?" she whispered nervously. But the oldest princess laughed. "It's just our friends celebrating our arrival," she said. Soon they walked into another forest. This time the trees were covered in shining golden leaves. Once again, the soldier broke off a small branch. Then they reached a third forest where the leaves glittered like diamonds. When the soldier snapped another branch, the loud sound echoed through the trees. The youngest princess was now truly frightened, but her sisters continued forward as if nothing had happened. At the end of the path, they reached a large dark lake. Waiting at the shore were 12 handsome princes. Each prince stood beside a small boat. The princesses stepped into the boats, one by one, each joining her prince. The invisible soldier quietly climbed into the same boat as the youngest princess. As the boat moved across the lake, the prince rowing beside her frowned. "This boat feels heavier than usual," he said. "I'm rowing as hard as I can, but we're moving slowly." The princess laughed softly. "It must be the warm night air," she said. On the other side of the lake stood a magnificent castle glowing with bright golden light. Music filled the night air. Trumpets sounded. Horns echoed. Laughter drifted from the castle windows. The princesses hurried inside with excitement. In the grand hall, the music grew even louder. Each princess began dancing with her prince. The invisible soldier joined them, moving across the floor among the dancers. Whenever a servant placed a cup of wine beside one of the princesses, the soldier secretly drank it before she could. Again and again, the youngest princess noticed strange things. "My cup was full a moment ago," she said nervously. But her older sister only laughed and told her she was imagining things. The dancing continued for hours. Round and round, the dancers moved across the shining floor. By the time the clock struck 3 in the morning, the princesses' shoes were completely worn out. The night's secret adventure was over. The princes rowed them back across the lake. This time, the soldier sat in the boat with the oldest princess. When they reached the underground forest again, the princesses said goodbye to their princes and promised to return the next night. The soldier hurried ahead, ran up the secret staircase, and jumped back into bed. When the princesses finally returned to their room, they heard him snoring loudly. "Good," they whispered. "Everything is safe." The next 2 nights went exactly the same way. the secret staircase, the glowing forests, the lake and the boats, and the magnificent castle filled with music and dancing. But on the third night, the soldier took one final piece of proof. He quietly took a golden cup from the castle. When the 3 days were over, the soldier was brought before the king. The 12 princesses stood behind the door, listening carefully. The king looked at the soldier and asked the most important question. "Tell me, where do my daughters go every night?" The soldier calmly placed the silver, gold, and diamond branches on the table. Then he placed the golden cup beside them. "Your daughters dance every night," he said, "in a hidden castle beneath the earth with 12 princes." He explained everything he had seen: the secret staircase, the underground forests, the lake, the boats, and the castle where the dancing took place. The king immediately called his daughters into the room. When the princesses saw the branches and the golden cup, they knew the secret could no longer be hidden. At last, they confessed the truth. The king then turned to the soldier. "You have solved the mystery," he said. "Which of my daughters will you choose as your wife?" The soldier thought for a moment before answering. "I am not a young man anymore," he said kindly, "so I will marry the oldest princess." And that very same day, the soldier and the princess were married. And one day in the future, the retired soldier would become the next king.